Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Palma Yacht Crew vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Rhea. I am your host. Today, I am happy to introduce Oscar Siches. How are you, Oscar?
Very well indeed, Rhea. Good morning.
Good morning. Today we have you on board to talk about this recent petition that has gone out throughout the yachting community in Mallorca in regards to the changing location of Astilleros.
Yes, indeed.
Now, the story behind that is basically Astilleros, and this is very, very basic because really it is a simple thing. Astilleros has a contract to be in the place in which they have done business for the past 80 some odd years. They have a contract to be there till 2027. Now, with the Port Authority having decided that they want to make that area greener, Astilleros did say, okay, we will change our location and still honor the agreement that we've had in place for almost a century. So everything stays exactly the same. What is the issue that people are having right now? Like, why is this petition? Because as far as I understand, absolutely nothing changes. It's just basically the location of Astilleros.
That's 100% true. There is a little bit more to the story. Last time the harbor law in Spain was modified, it came an allowance to request for an extension of concession term. Some rules, you have to be more than 2/3 of the time of the concession must have gone, and then you have to propose an investment, and you have to propose an amount of, you could get an amount of years depending the years of the original concession. This is what happens to Astilleros. When the time was ready, Astilleros asked for an extension of their concession. And the extension was going to be, if I'm not wrong, like 14 or 16 years, something like that. That would come after 2027. And that is process. That was something that was done already with the Club de Mar, Port de Mallorca, Marina Palma, with many of the installations and concessions in the harbor. So that goes on, and then comes the harbor authority and says, oops, we do have an agreement with the municipality of Palma. Actually, for the first time in a long time, they came up with an agreement saying we are going to get better the whole area of the old harbor of Palma. So you are in the middle of that, so I cannot extend that concession for you. And so they sit down, they talk about the thing, and it comes up that it could, well, one of the solutions could be that by the general interest of the city, the harbor, municipality, everybody, they could be shifted to that point beyond STP on the muelles comerciales, on the commercial piers. So they start talking about that, and they say, well, okay, I mean, this is possible, but of course, there is one thing. Also by law, you always have to listen to someone that also aims to do exactly the same. So you have your history and the whole thing, but if someone comes and says, look, I can do that too, they have the right to present themselves and aim to get that concession, right? And that is exactly what happened. There's nothing wrong with it. It's all legal, it's straightforward, it's fine. But the arguments I've seen mostly in the press, and I chatted with a couple of friends of mine. I know Diego for a long time. I respect him thoroughly. I don't agree with him in many things, but I admire him as an incredible manager of an entity which is not easy at all to run. I did have a little discussion, not discussion, a chat with him just to know really how it was like, this request for renewal of the term, and that was it. And then I saw on the newspapers mainly, and in internet, I saw the plea of this other group of people willing to take the place and do the same business. So just to make a smaller STP next to XTP. And I've been 20 years in this business, ashore, and I presented myself with other people or 4 other people to 5 concessions. We won 3 of them. I know a little bit how this goes. When these people say, we know what we're doing, I agree with that. Barco, one of the partners of Barco, is the guy that was in charge of the whole boat yard for STP for more than 10 years. I had him as a neighbor when I was in the Moll, and I mean, very capable, clever guy, and as we say in Spain, with enough left hand, which means when there were dodgy situations, he was great to deal with and to find a solution that would just fit both parties, especially with the Super Yacht Cup and the Palma boat show. That basically, they come and then they invade part of your facility. Okay, so they are capable, no doubt about it. But to aim for one of these things is not to say, listen, I have the right to. No. That involves to make a project that has to be signed by an engineer recognized by the Harbor Authority. A project that will, for a project like that, it will cost at least 60,000, 70,000 euros if the engineer likes them and charge them a cheap price. A project that involves a market study, and then a feasibility study, and then a business plan, and then you are ready to go to the Harbor Authority and say, gentlemen, this is my project, and I would like to be bidding for that place too. So far, what I've heard is they say, we have the right to go because we have a lot of people that could get more work from there. That is, first of all, that is straightforward wrong, because they are comparing Astilleros with STP. And Astilleros is a completely different model than STP. STP, or what they call the open harbor, which I find the wrong name, but what they call an open harbor is a facility, STP, that gets a concession, and the concession tells clearly that they can rent commercial space, do the anti-fouling on the boats, haul the boats out, and charge for the boats staying ashore. STP cannot have, like saying, STP sail repair shop. They cannot have the STP carpentry. They cannot have STP hydraulics, because the only job they can do is what is in the condition. Astilleros is a complete different model, which is we incorporate all the service under one hood. They are clients for STP, and they are clients for Astilleros. Amico & Co. is very similar to Astilleros. They are entities that have the workshops, they have the workers, they pay all the 60 or 70 or 80 salaries a month of that workforce that is going to do the jobs in the facility. When they get over what they can do, they call people from outside, no problem. But the owners that normally go to these places also prefer to be in a more secluded place where everything is more controlled, and where they deal with one person, one email, one telephone number. This is my list of jobs, you do them. The whole north of Europe, Dutch yachts, German yachts, Finnish yachts, they all work like this, all of them. So both models are absolutely valid. And what I see here is someone trying to mix the models without a real fundament of why would be better. Sorry, that's it. That's for now what I have to say. I get really hot with this because I know both of them. I worked with both of them in the past. My first boat I held in Astilleros was in '85, I think. So I go way back. And STP, I have recently, I think 1 year working from inside, with metal knocks. And I've seen the operation. I knew the operation. I've seen the operation. It works. It's perfect for that model. And Astilleros is perfect for that model.
Well, I mean, some of it, I see there's a petition online, and in that petition, it actually makes it sound like if Astilleros is allowed to go ahead and do the move exactly the way they're planning it, that it will impact the yachting industry here, the refit, the shipbuilding, etc., in a negative aspect. Is that true? Will it impact it at all?
They are shifting places. They are not changing anything. Suppliers will be the same. Employees will be the same. Clients will be the same. So nothing is going to change. Only a geographical part, which instead of being next to the Paseo Marítimo in town, they're going to go at the end of a pier, which is like 500 meters away. Punto, full stop.
So it's not going to impact anybody that is currently dealing with STP because they will continue to be able to deal with STP exactly the way they've always done. And the same with Astilleros. It will just continue on exactly the way it's always done. It's just moving locations.
Look, STP works for clients of STP, and Astilleros works for clients of Astilleros. And sometimes it can be a sort of an overflow one way or the other, but nothing would change. And in my eyes, nothing is wrong. I see it in other countries. Nothing is wrong with these two different models. On the contrary, you have more to offer, you will have more people coming here.
So when the smaller businesses say that it's going to impact them negatively, they're wrong.
I believe they're wrong.
Sorry?
Totally wrong.
Okay.
I believe they are wrong. Totally wrong.
Okay. So it's very interesting because, both sides of this argument are quite literally worlds apart. So it is good to get your take on things because I know you're sort of a neutral party sitting in the middle and you don't have anything to gain one way or the other.
I don't, and I find quite fascinating now that I'm sort of half retired or 3/4 retired. I find quite fascinating to be able to give this little step back and look, with a certain impartial view, what's happening on one side, what's happening on the other side, and apply a little bit of experience had. Not too many, because my experience is created in a world that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, my strong experience was created 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and we're not living in the same world at all. But some little bit of that can be applied to modern times and look at the things. And there are players. I mean, the guys of STP, the board of directors of STP, they accumulate an enormous amount of experience through the years. The same as Diego and the people of Astilleros. So on those matters, is no one better than the other one. I would say that both of them need to exist in their positions, not geographical positions, market position, delivering goods position, delivering expertise position. And then I'm going to mention something. I'm very sad to see that let's call it contestants to have this position at the end of the pier for the jobs. They recur to such a cheap ways, like creating a plea in change change.org for the harbor authorities or for the authorities to give them the place and to give them the concession. I did a noticing yesterday. I went to change.org and I started a plea, which actually the title is a little complicated, is Stop Religion from Influencing Yacht Refits. And when I had to explain why, I said, well, you always say bloody hell and my God and the whole thing, and that confuses people of different religions. So everybody should be declared agnostic and put that on the thing. You know what? They published it. They published it. It's out there in the internet. So which is the value then of those 300 something signatures they got through this platform? It's absolutely zero. And when you, with a very specific job and knowledge, recur, I would say, so far away, not to say so far down, to get support, I see something wrong there. You know, for me, that disqualifies, they should have never done that. That disqualifies them or not. Again, I'm not saying they are not qualified. I'm saying they don't know how to do the things, and they are sort of reaching to desperate moves to try to keep on making noise. I don't find it good. That leads nowhere good, never.
So let me ask you then, do you actually think that a petition of this sort is going to make any difference whatsoever in the final outcome?
The only guys really with the key of that is the harbor authority, and I hope they are going to do the right thing. I hope.
Well, it sounds like
sorry, Rhea, these things have been done before. There are some cases in which the harbor authority can say, look, we judge that this is not good enough. This other one has a longer experience and good name abroad, etc., and they say, therefore, they are going to be allocated this. That can happen, and I hope they take the right decision. Which decision it is, the day I'm a president of the Harbor Authority, I let you know, because then it will be my task to do it. Today, I say, I think the moving of Astilleros and allow them to keep on doing is the right thing to do. But I'm not sure, I'm back.
So if somebody were to take over the project as opposed to Astilleros, how much money approximately would they have to come up with before they could move forward? Because I think really that would be probably the biggest stumbling block. Sure, you win, you know, the rights to do it, but are you going to be able to come up with that kind of money?
There is a lot of people with money ready to invest in good things. If the project is very good, they might interest investors. Astilleros has an incredibly wealthy backup from their investors in Galicia. But if I would have to say, how much do you need to set that up, and not to move it, to set that up from scratch, like, I would say you're not thinking of less than 50 million.
So really, you could end up creating an issue with this move and then having no yard at all because you didn't actually have the money to set up what Astilleros does.
It will not be the first time that happens with the harbor authority. It happened in Mallorca a few years ago, where at a certain moment they had to rescue back a concession because the people couldn't go on with that. They had made a wrong appraisal of and the business study. So it won't be the first time. What it will be delaying, of course, the whole process. And what is the worst, it will be giving a horrible name to Palma as a refit center, which we don't need now. We never need that, but especially now we don't need that.
So I guess really the message going across is that there's nothing is changing, and let's just get on with it. I mean, we are heading into the season now in the Mediterranean, and for waves to be starting to be made at this stage is a mistake.
Look, what is a mistake is that you have a flourishing yachting industry. We have never been really pampered or helped by the government at all. And then the best we find to do is to start fighting among ourselves and to start throwing, pots and pans and stones and whatever to each other, like in this case. That is the worst of the worst, and that is what should be corrected first, because there is something with us that doesn't go well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting to get your take because, it is heading all over social media. And I think at this stage, I just checked before we came on air. And I think it had reached 475 signatures or something like that. But I can imagine in order for that petition to actually make any impact, you would have to have a lot more signatures.
I cannot give any value to those signatures. But the problem is, or the situation is, these people publish that there just to see if they fished more signatures, just to have a signature. Now, if someone, I don't know, owner of or an employee of a newspaper stand there in front of Barbosh or something signs, what is the value for me of that person not knowing what is a boat, much less a yacht, much less the harbor of Palma? It's absolutely zero, nothing. I mean, the only signatures that here would qualify, there would be, let's say, let's call it educated signatures from people knowing, qualified people knowing what they are talking about. I mean, if you would get me signatures from other shipyards in Europe, from directors of the yachting business in the Côte d'Azur, from captains, that's a story. Then I say, oops, we belong to that, and these people know what they are talking about, and they have experiences from other places. But just signatures? That's why I did the stupid thing I did. I mean, yeah, but it worked. You cannot trust that. I tell you one thing, you know what my first reaction was? Bloody hell. 2 or 3 times I signed in this platform, and I even given money for it, 10 euros or 20 euros for some of the courses. And now I feel quite stupid having done that. Because, of course, the first thing they did when they published the thing was to suggest me to put some money to make it spread quicker. It's a business, punto.
Yeah. Do you have, before I let you go, do you have any advice to those that are looking and weighing out both sides of this argument, as it were, or it's not just an argument. I mean, it is life-changing for the industry here in Mallorca, if anything changes. Is there any advice that you would like to give people in general, in the yachting industry, obviously?
Yes. In these latitudes, we are not used to sit down and discuss with people we have a problem. We go all around, we go tangential, we hide behind a tree, we do all sort of things, and it doesn't matter nationalities. It must be the air of the 39th north latitude that makes us do that. Sitting down and talking is 3/4 of the solution. It will open eyes on both sides, and there is always something to do that works for everybody.
So realistically, maybe getting everybody together in the same room and having an open discussion would be a good idea at this stage.
Not open discussion, because, well, I mean, not for what I call open discussion, like what people can participate or something like that. There are parties involved, and each of the parties know perfectly well where they stand, what they can do, and how they can do it. Look, one time, about 11 years ago, in Singapore, we were doing the Singapore conference, the Super Yacht conference, and it was so difficult to get authorities from other countries around Australasia to come to the thing. And then I got this idea and said, look, guys, let's do something. Invite the people 2 days before the conference to meet among themselves without any public, without recording, without nothing. It worked. So I would say, Astilleros on one chair, these other guys on the other chair, and the Harbor Authority on the other chair. It will be a lot easier than doing through the media, right? And they will be able maybe to arrive to a conclusion that there is no solution, but at least will be something strong, elaborated, well thought, and intelligent.
So rather than jumping on the bandwagon and putting out information that might not be correct.
Ah, come on. I mean, I hate that.
Well, Oscar, thank you ever so much. Your opinion and your knowledge and your years in the industry are always a valuable asset for ourselves here at Yachting International Radio, and of course the yachting industry as a whole throughout the world and the Mediterranean especially. And your time is very valued and precious. So thank you so much for coming on board.
Hey, thank you for giving me wings just to get out to people.
You are more than welcome back anytime. Once again, this has been Oscar Siches. We've been talking about the recent issue that has arisen online in regards to the move of Astilleros de Mallorca here in Palma de Mallorca. Thank you for joining us on Palma Yacht Crew Vlogs. My name is Rhea. Tune in again for another edition right here on Yachting International Radio.